Anderson? Yes. Andy?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, council, any changes or additions to this evening's agenda? If not, we'll move to our consent agenda. We have approval of the minutes from the November 12th council meeting, approval of the November 15th payroll of $120,496.18, approval of the November 15th special payroll, $1,350.58, approval of the USDA Step 1 debt in the amount of $12,975, approval of the CoBank interim financing debt in the amount of $44,103.56, approval of an employee appreciation celebration December 20th, approval of the October finance report, acceptance of the library board minutes, and approval of claims in the amount of $356,379.71, of which PKG Contracting is above the $75,000 at $222,457.75. So any questions, council, regarding those consent agenda items? Not entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Gandy,
Second.
second by Anderson. Please call the roll.
Gandy?
Yes.
Anderson? Yes. Hallie?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, council, we'll move to our public appearances. We have one request this evening from Alexandra Moreno. Is Alexandra here? Yes. And this is an appeal of a decision on a refund for
The water,
your water and sewer bill. Yes, go ahead.
So I own a property at 508 East Kirkwood. And usually what I do is I renovate houses and I fix them up and sell them or rent them. And in this instance, we had an issue with one of the toilets and we thought it was a lever that it was not working. And I was informed in September that my water bill was over $700. And after I wrote a letter explaining that, but after further investigation, they noticed that there was a crack in the tank of the toilet. So we lost because we kept losing water. we couldn't figure it out. My bill after that was still $200. So we had to repair the floor and change the tank. And I'm here just to ask you if you guys can help me because it's $400. The difference at that time was $400 in the sewer that they told me that they could help me with. And there's always a budget for doing these projects, and I feel it's a service to the community to have better houses and nicer houses. And I'm just asking if you guys could reconsider that sewer charge.
Okay, thank you. And it was explained to you why the decision was made?
No, there's no explanation.
Okay, so, yeah, so she needed an explanation about why that. Aaron, would you mind giving that to?
When the committee looks at those, they look at where does the water go, and if the water goes down the sewer drain, that still means that the water or the sewer treatment plant has to treat those funds. So when the committee looks at it, they then go, if we approve that request to reduce the sewer funds, well then the entire city has to pay for those funds rather than the water that went through your meter. That then that's how you pay for the water for the sewer to also. So the thought process is if you have that water go down the drain, then the sewer plant still has to go through the process of treating it, even though it's clean water, which it actually costs more to treat. So that's typically why if it goes down the drain, the committee denies those requests.
Now, I don't think that it fully went down the drain because I had to replace the floor. So the floor got rotten because of all the water that we lost. And it's not that I didn't notice right away. The house was empty for a month. So that's why we didn't notice.
Sure.
And again, that's why I'm here, because there was a rotten floor. Didn't fully go through the sewer system. So
Did we send someone out to look at the site? Or no?
Well, I'm sure we do for each of those because they're.
That's what I thought.
Was there no?
Yeah.
That one, no?
Right. I remember because that one we just acted on. That was one of the most recent ones that we,
Martha, do you remember whether someone from the water department went?
I don't
to-
believe there
did we
was.
have their information?
No, I don't believe there was
Okay.
from the
So
water
if
department.
she says it went into the floor, how do we know it went down the drain?
If we don't get any response
No.
back as far as if it goes into the house and we don't know if it went out of, typically it's up to the homeowner to tell us, or if we do have somebody go there and check, we'll be told if it went down the drain or if it just went somewhere. But if it goes into the house, there's no way else out of the house unless it goes through the drain.
And were both instances over a 1 month period? Because you mentioned that you discovered first you discovered a leaky toilet,
Well,
then you discovered a crack.
Well, yeah, that was over actually a month and a half.
A month and a half. So with the leaky toilet, some portion of it was actually, we know, still in the system and going through.
Some of it
Yeah.
probably went into the sewer, but not. That's what I'm saying. Not the whole bill.
Right.
I have a bill that is $1,200.
Right. Well,
You know, it's
yeah,
$1,200.
it's a
what I
fair
have.
point that there is some of that that's leaked into the home. I mean, the last one that we guaranteed, we learned that it was actually going out into the crawl space and onto the ground. This is similar that it's going into the house, but it's just a matter of what percentage of that do we think.
It's undeterminable.
It'd have to be a guess.
50-50 or whatever.
Do you have any pictures of the water damage? That's what we typically use.
No,
to-
I don't have any pictures, but we repair it. Like when I do this type of work, we go in and usually we move very quickly. But in this instance, we were waiting for material. The house was empty for a month and a half. Then when we came back, we fixed this. Then I got
Did
the
you
water.
did
Then I
you
have a
do
water
the
bill.
repairs yourself?
No.
Do you have bills? Do you
I
have
hired
bills
the
for the?
contractor, and
Okay.
I have all the bills of everything that I have paid and all the material. And I have a same issue like probably 4 years ago. The water bill was $3,000 at that time. So yeah, these are things that
Yeah,
I
you
don't
have-
plan on. I understand that that you have to pay for that, but also it's huge expense for me.
It's not us that pays for it, it's everyone else.
Well, all of us.
Yeah.
So, council, would there be any wish, Martha, if you
I was just gonna
review
say,
the situation
committee would be-
again to see?
The committee will be glad to meet and review it again and see if there's any reason that we, if we did miss.
Can you bring some proof of the repairs? that they were-
What do you need?
Do you have a repair bill from the person who took care of the floor? I would bring that with you.
Okay,
I
what
mean,
else?
Any
we'll be
pictures
very
you
glad
might
at that
have.
point to, revisit it.
If you
So
don't
do you
have,
want me to send you another letter with pictures and bills, or what do you want me to do? You want that?
Pictures and the statements as far as what you spent and what you replaced.
Okay.
And with a letter explaining what happened again.
Okay,
And
I'll
you
do
can
that.
drop that off here and I will get it to the committee.
Okay,
Yeah, they want to
so,
try and determine what percentage of the water did not go down the drain.
okay.
That's what they're
So
trying to
do you
figure out.
want, I address it to the utilities committee again? I
Yep.
just drop off the letter here with the pictures and all that attached. Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
thank you. Okay. Council, let's move to our resolution action items and ordinances. And the first will be the approval of our FY19 annual finance report. You have a copy of that. And Rebecca, I know this is something that we file annually. And is there anything that you'd like to point out on the
Oh, nothing
On the
in
report?
particular. Both the annual finance report and the annual urban renewal report are just annual reports that we turn in every year. Just an overview of what 2019 ended up looking like.
Thanks. The one thing that stuck out to me is the general obligation debt that we carry right now is $6,685,000. Our debt limit is $44,329, which is 23.5%. It's in a very good position, very healthy position. The amount of debt that we're carrying to the valuation of the community. So if there aren't any questions, council, I'll entertain a motion to approve the financial report.
So moved.
Moved by Anderson.
Second.
Second by Thompson. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. And then in the same vein, we have the annual urban renewal report, which is essentially all of our different TIF projects connected to urban renewal zones. Rebecca, any comments on that?
No.
Okay. Entertain a motion to,
Does this include all those weird transfers that we keep seeing? This is all,
Portion of them, yes. Yes, yeah.
okay. So I entertain a motion to approve the annual urban renewal report.
So moved.
Moved by Gandy,
Second.
second by Thompson. Discussion. Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Next, council, we have consideration of an amendment to our personnel policy. Katie, from your committee, do you have a report on that?
we revisited the employee handbook and how it addresses overtime such that it doesn't negatively impact an employee who happens to be scheduled for a vacation in the same week that we might have a big snow or a water main leak or something similar to that. And I believe it's going to be brought back to us in the form of a resolution? Or are we taking action on this today?
Doesn't have to be a resolution.
It
This is
doesn't?
a policy, so
A policy,
just
okay.
approve the policy as written, which I think
Is
that
in front
what
of
the
you. Yep.
action is.
Yeah, so the red is what we reviewed, and the gist of it is, if I have vacation scheduled on Friday, vacation cannot play, or vacation, when you go into overtime, you don't get paid overtime for those 8 hours of vacation that you're taking. So if the water leak happens to happen in the same week, or the big snow or whatever, this is actually hurting some of our employees. So everything that's written here excludes civil service because they have their own set of rules, but it's all stated very clearly in non-civil service positions. And the committee reviewed it, and we had absolutely no objections to anything that's written, including the part of the employee handbook where it says it is the new hire's responsibility to ask questions if anything is unclear. So
Okay.
we would make a recommendation that the council adopt the changes to the employee handbook.
Okay. So we'll take that as a motion.
Yes.
Anderson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Gandy. Any discussion, any questions to the Personnel Committee on the change? Not, please call the roll.
Anderson?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Hallie?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, council, we're going to go to the proposed two-way street restoration project that we had discussion of in our last meeting. And what we'll do this evening is receive the presentation again on the proposed street changes. Do we have the PDF from our last meeting? No, we don't. Okay, the council, I think you know what's proposed in that. And then we'll take a presentation from the Chamber of Commerce, from Darian Sloat, from the Wayfinding Commission, and I'll allow for any public comment. We'll vote up or down on the two-way street and then move to the separate item, which would be the allocation of local option sales tax funds, which does include the conversion funds. If it fails, obviously there would be a different motion, but if it does pass, then it would be considered for its financial support in the second motion. So let's see, is Melanie in here with us? Mel, would you just remind the council what's proposed on the 6 blocks?
So the proposal has has two-way on all of the streets except for Main, from Burlington to
Briggs.
Briggs. Thank you. The primary purpose for that is that the corner of Burlington and Main is DOT jurisdiction. And frankly, I want the DOT to like me and work with me on other projects, so I didn't bring that up to them. There would be two-way traffic on Broadway and Court each of those being 3 blocks. The block in front of First National Bank is also one-way, and so the proposal would be including making that 2-way. So for 6 blocks total. The project would include some sign changes, obviously removing the one-way signs, some additional stop signs. Very few of the nodes are going to be completely disturbed, trying to keep all of the large trees as well as the benches where they are, but only reshaping portions of it to make it a little more obvious on which way the cars are parking, but also to make sure that we keep this parking stalls, the same number of parking stalls. One of the other things in the proposal is to update or bring the square, the downtown area, into compliance with the required number of handicap stalls. I can't tell you off the top of my head, but the net number of stalls would not change. I believe there would be about 5 regular stalls that would be converted into handicap stalls, so we end up with about 2 per block, or two every other block. It's good to group them for efficiency purposes. So all those are included in the proposal.
The traffic lanes, describe those.
So around the square, the inside, I'll start with the outside lane would be a single lane. So, sorry, I'm trying to describe this with...
Well, it's both inside and outside would be single lanes, and then the middle
yes.
lane.
The very inside lane around the square would be a right turn only.
Okay.
So then the outer 2 lanes would be your 2-way traffic. Your left turn would be then out of the center lane. So.
How is the rest of the block treated on that inside lane that's the right-hand turn?
Not
Is
sure.
there anything else? Is there anything that's allowed in there other than in and out of parking spaces?
Right. I think it would be more just once we get down there, as far as where we would like the delivery trucks to park. I would assume they would still park in the middle lane. That would make that inside lane become, more of a driving lane. I think some of that's going to be just a feel once we get out there, and maybe enforcement as far as how we prefer for them to park.
And what's the striping? Is it a solid white? Is it a broken white? Is it a yellow? What are we looking at?
I'm not sure. I believe it would be a solid yellow line on in between the 2 lanes of 2-way traffic. Then in the 2 lanes that are in the same direction, it's a dashed white line, as is there now.
Right.
Then at the intersections, we would paint the arrows indicating that the inside lane is a right turn lane, and that depending on the situation, how you would maneuver that 2-way lane.
Okay. And is there a plan for gradually getting that traffic flow to understand the changes with cones or flags or any other signage?
There's lots of different ways that we can do it. I don't think we've really discussed with the streets department and law enforcement how we would go about that. Well, flags, signs, cones, all of those things have been done in different places.
Right, and actually even temporary cones that that are stationary, but will guide some going through those. Okay.
Yeah, we have enough cones in supply in the city to put cones down the center of that 2-way to indicate don't cross.
Council, any questions on how that'll be executed and what the traffic flow will be? Okay, thank you, Mel.
I will mention that on where we changed the direction of the parking stalls, the existing stall lines, as well as any traffic symbols or paint lines that need to be removed that aren't going to be covered up, we're using a pressure washing technique. This was done at the parking stalls along here on Washington. So it's a company that comes in, does a much better removal than just, you know, a home pressure washer or equipment that we have in-house. So that right at first, you'll still see that line because the asphalt's nice and clean and bright. But I believe at Washington, by the first snow that got some salt in on it, you couldn't see where those lines used to be.
Okay, thank you. So council, this request also, just to refresh, is coming to us from the Wayfinding Commission. The Wayfinding Commission was a city-appointed ad hoc commission that was appointed to help execute some of the recommendations that came out of the study that was done by the Iowa Architects Foundation. There are a number of other elements to that, but this one, I think, gained traction because it also tied into some of the recommendations that were made to the CVB regarding attractiveness and quality tourism within the community. And again, you've all heard it discussed that principally it's confusing to people if they arrive at your community and they have a do not enter sign going onto the square, which is the central business district. So basically giving more ease and flow to get to any side of the square would support the downtown merchants. Now, the CVB and the Chamber of Commerce have been active along with Josh at FIDA in surveying a lot of the businesses downtown, so we'll take that feedback now. Darren, if you would.
Good evening. Last time we met, I did hand out these surveys that we had conducted. Does anybody need a new one? All right, good with that. All right. So in that survey, we had 37 businesses that we talked to, and 36 of those businesses asked for your support changing the streets back to two-way. Unfortunately, I have not had a lot of time to spend on this matter since then, but I did end up talking to John Stever, who also is in favor of it, so it is now 37 out of 38 businesses. We do have, by my count, over 100 small businesses in town, just the downtown area alone. And so I believe based on our current sampling, this position is largely representative of all those businesses. So yes, when you consider your decision, we ask that you add weight to these people's opinions because this is where they conduct their business. I know from speaking with you that you've all had a lot of feedback that said, please don't change anything. We like it the way it is. It costs too much. There's lots of reasons people can still find their way around. But what I would like to remind you is that these businesses, just the ones we spoke to, create 129 jobs in our community. That's a significant employer if you were to lump them under one roof. These businesses donate with great regularity to local clubs and organizations in our community. They give back all the time. These businesses also give people a reason to visit our community and leave behind their money, which is an important thing for our community. Many will tell you, many of these businesses will tell you that without out-of-town shoppers, they would not survive as a business. So we need to make it easy for those out-of-town shoppers to negotiate their way around the downtown. Downtown businesses collect and pay local option sales tax. 50% of local option sales tax funds are designated to be used to improve streets in the community. These downtown businesses have been paying these additional taxes for years, so they are paying in for what we're trying to propose here. These businesses also add tax revenue to our city. Without them, the rest of our community would have to pay more in taxes to get what we have now. In short, small business is a huge economic driver for this community. They give back on a regular basis. These business owners are asking for your help now. Going to two-way streets downtown might just give them a little extra boost that would ultimately help us all. Please listen to them. Please give them your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Any questions, council, regarding that report? Was First National, I appreciate you mentioning John Stever, was First National Bank approached about it? Did they have
First National Bank was uncommitted.
Okay.
They had people that were, some were in favor and some were just like, we don't care.
Midwest One?
Midwest One, I did not get to Ron. I
Okay.
think Terry, Josh,
Aaron did.
Aaron did.
Aaron.
Iowa State Bank.
Okay.
So,
All right.
again, my apologies. I'm
That's
working
okay.
two jobs.
That's-
I'm very tired.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, I'll invite Terry Baker from the CVB.
So all of you should have a packet in front of you with some basic information that kind of summarizes everything we've been collecting here for the last couple of years on this project. This project includes not only things we're looking at with wayfinding, but also from a tourism perspective. Obviously, wayfinding is very important for tourism. We want people to get around town. Locals, we know how to get around town. We know how to navigate those one-way streets. We know where the airport is without a sign. We know all those things, but wayfinding is put into place to help visitors come to town. Visitors, when they come to town, they're spending their money. We want to make that a welcoming environment. We want to give them something here to come and enjoy. Tourism is one of those things that we can tell all kinds of stories about tourism. We can say Fairfield is this and Fairfield is that. If somebody comes here and we don't live up to that, if our tourism product doesn't live up to that, we failed on our job and those people will not return. And one of the things that we notice is lacking in this community in our downtown area is that feeling of friendliness that we can get around and we can navigate to all of the shops in the area without being sent out of town and not knowing how to get back into the downtown central commerce area. So our proposal with this two-way street restoration is to really help those individuals get back into the downtown area, to find their restaurant, to find their shops, to go to another one, and spend more money creating more local option sales tax. I hear it every day from the merchants that are in the downtown, the number of people who are driving the wrong way down the streets. Not all of them are from out of town. I also hear it on a regular basis that a merchant describes how to get to another shop, and they're saying, well, you have to go down here, and then you make a turn there, and then you go down 2 blocks, and then you have to go around. And they say the eyes glaze over of the visitor, and they say, oh, never mind, I won't do it this time. I'll come back another time. So this is a big part of our proposal and why we're really pushing for this two-way street restoration. In your packet, you'll notice that there's a couple of things I want to highlight for you. You'll see one of the letters that there has a little yellow tab on it. This is a letter from Bill Anderson, who is one of the architects who worked with the Iowa Architectural Foundation, and his recommendation and how he's seen two-way streets benefit other communities. Behind that, you'll also see that there is the proposal from the walkability assessment report recommending, again, that the two-way street conversion happens. You'll see on the other side that there's a letter from the Convention and Visitors Bureau Director. There is also a letter from the Wayfinding Commission, and there are letters from some of our local merchants who are letting you know that they know they're contributing to the economy of this community. They want to be here and have their businesses here. They want to grow and prosper. They want to create an environment where our community has longevity, that we don't become one of those downtowns that basically starts to fail. As someone was mentioning earlier, when you drive into a community and things are neat and the lines are there and the parking and all those kind of things happen, people notice those things and it creates an environment that people keep wanting to return to that area. I think one of the biggest things that we're looking at is this is an investment. It's an investment in creating something for our future of our community and creating a vision of what our downtown can become. Right now, it's pretty obvious that many of our shops along Court Street are struggling. And I think they struggle because they do not have direct access from Burlington. It is not easy to access those shops. And I think it's really important that we look as a community at what is going to grow our community and grow that center of commerce. What is going to grow that area that everyone will go to at some point in time when they're visiting our community? So for that reason, we're asking you to consider this proposal in a positive light. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Appreciate it. Okay, at this time, I'll just ask if there's anyone who would like to speak positively or negatively about the proposal. Yes, come. Just call it pro or con, not positive or negative.
I'm Denise Rush, and I'm president of the Fairfield Cultural Alliance. And for those who, just to refresh your memory, our organization has been collected to support arts and culture in Fairfield since 2005. And we put together the applications for our cultural and entertainment district, and which is essentially the area that's going to be affected by the two-way street conversion. We want to stand behind the merchants in the area and all of the people who create great art events in the area and make it easier for not only just visitors but also locals to get around to the square and go to those places regularly. So I just wanted to let you know that we're behind this too.
Great. Thank you, Denise. Appreciate it. Sir? Yes.
My name's Tony Baker. I own Sweet and Saucy on North Court. I actually have an interesting perspective, as about 40% of my business isn't done in Fairfield. We have a food trailer which we take all over southeast Iowa. We have catering anywhere from Des Moines to the Quad Cities to northern Missouri. I am constantly talking to people about my business and by extension Fairfield. And my first question, well, how do I get there? Well, are you familiar with Fairfield? Well, and then it gets real difficult to explain how to get there. Being able just to say simply, turn north on Court Street. We're a block and a half north. It's going to be so powerful for me to get lots of people into town. We're also planning on doing some television advertising in the very near future. It's going to be so much easier for me to explain to people in that 30-second bite how to get to my restaurant. If you have any questions, feel free to holler at me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. Anyone else like to speak, pro or con? Okay. Okay, Council. So essentially, I just felt that having a discussion and a vote on the merits of the proposal first and foremost, I understand that what's entered into the issue also is the allocation of funds and whether it should be a highest priority at this point in time. But just in terms of the proposal, the two-way street conversion, I'd like to hear a discussion on the merits of that, and then we'll take a vote. Obviously, your vote can include the concern for the finances, but just in terms of the project itself.
Well, I guess from my standpoint, the people I've talked to, 49 people, okay, bridge clubs, coffee clubs, people on the street, that kind of thing. And out of my 49, no one's in favor of it. Now, some of them have given the reasons, they don't like the change. I could care less about that. Mm-hmm. That's, I mean, to me, that's not an issue. But the people I talked to, and I admit, I asked them a question. I said this was going to be coming up for a vote, and if I had $150,000 to spend, which we're talking about, whether that's the right cost or not, but that was kind of the original cost that they were talking about. I'm going to give you only two options. One of them is to have two-way streets, or the other one is to spend it on potholes. And I realize potholes isn't needed. And all those people were saying, with the condition the streets are in, and that's what we heard initially for the department heads type thing, they want the streets fixed. And a lot of them made it, it's one thing to invite somebody to come from Des Moines and find out that they got to spend $300 to get their front end lined up again. I mean, I hate to have people driving out to, not that this is part of it because it's not downtown. The streets are a priority as far as I'm concerned. We have $150,000 to allocate. Whether we do it or not, to me, the restriping the downtown can be done at a different time. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm kind of a number dummy type person, but to me, the priorities are what we're supposed to be taking care of. And
Tom, if your folks you surveyed were given the choice of using half the money to stripe and half,
but I didn't give them that.
yeah,
Okay, because I didn't know how we were doing.
right.
Okay.
Do you think we might have had some converts?
No, quite frankly, because I think they want the streets fixed.
They want the streets. Got it.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Martha, did you have a point?
I really do. I mean, I've had the benefit of sitting on the wayfinding committee for the last, year and a half or 2 years or more, and have heard the number of individuals who've come to the community, whether they're the architectural group from Des Moines or other people who've come into the community that we've invited and said, we're looking for ways to grow Fairfield, to improve the opportunity for those of us who are living here. And they were absolutely adamant over pointing out the need for changing our streets. They said that's probably one of the things that people really are turned off by when they arrive and are having difficulty locating businesses or finding, the area in the square. I mean, I think there's so much that could be, could benefit from it because, the businesses are the ones really that I feel we do need to cater to because they're the ones who are helping us with our local option sales tax. They're the ones who want the business because we want the business to have the money to fix your streets so that they aren't don't have potholes. But I realize, people are frustrated on this condition of the streets, but the way that can be improved is, I feel, by giving this opportunity for the community to do this change in our streets.
Great. Thank you, Martha. Any other comments, Council?
I'd just like to echo comments that were made earlier about, most of the people in the community want their streets fixed. You hear that all the time. So this is a surprise to them. They don't expect restriping a good street in lieu of fixing a street that might need repair. But bigger than that, the 30,000-foot view is, this is really half a loaf of bread. If you want to do downtown redevelopment in a systematic way, we've been doing kind of patchwork. We did lights for $610,000. We did the ordinances for outdoor parking, seating. Cut the trees and that kind of thing. But with the nodes in, and now we're going to cut the nodes, and people are not very happy about that because it looks like we didn't plan it very well. So I would say, back off, and why aren't we doing Main Street? Are we doing? Did the expert that came in and gave us advice, did he recommend all four sides or just two sides?
Well,
he recommended all four sides. I'm sure of it. So we haven't seen everything that he recommended lately, but why don't we, step back and do the intersection at Highway 1 and Main Street and do the whole thing if we're going to do it that way. Get the whole price for the total thing and do it one time and do it together.
Okay.
So I don't like doing it piecemeal like this. It's ad hoc, and I prefer.
But would you be favorable to that if it came back? Because
I'm favorable to looking at it and studying it and seeing what the total price would be. Here's what I'm worried about. Someone's getting our foot in the door. You get part of this project done, and then you use that as leverage to get more of it done. Why don't we just figure out what the whole price is at one time and then commit to it, put it into a 5-year plan if we decide to do it, and then we're all on the road and the boat in the same direction.
The thing is, that's what we said we were doing in January or in March when we set the budget. This 150 was kind of a placeholder for it, and we essentially said, come back with a plan and a budget, and what Melanie provided for us was something that was half of what we had earmarked for the project, and again, allowing us to do street work that we did not have budgeted. This $150,000 was not budgeted for street work. I'm always happy to use more money for street work, as all of our elected officials are. But this proposal came to us at the direction of the council to come back with a specific proposal and a cost. So here we are. If you're saying you want to go to the next level and include Main Street, that's a different subject. But
right.
That's how we got here. The other thing too is that Daryl fills a lot of potholes every year, and we can talk about ways to fill more potholes. We can talk about putting more money towards street reconstruction and overlay. But that $75,000 that you'd be putting toward the restriping of the downtown, which has the potential to increase our local option sales tax revenue, doesn't do a lot. It does 2/3 of a block of reconstruction in concrete, and it does, Melanie, 3-4 blocks of an overlay? Two blocks of an overlay. So we're not talking about gaining a lot. The council has bigger fish to fry when it comes to street repair, and hopefully they're going to get to that business in the next year when you're looking at the revenue, the bonds that are coming off, and the money that you can put into street repair. But I just think it's a little unfair to really lump it in with this proposal. But I understand that if money's available for streets, we should make it available. Anyone else?
Thank you, Mary. My constituents are mixed. Some are for it and some are not. But when they are saying they're reluctant to go this direction, it's because of cost. And I appreciate the presentations given by the Chamber and the Convention Center Bureau. It seems to me that really the decision is a dynamic one. By that I mean, we're not actually asking to take money from repairing streets. What we're asking to do is create a downtown business environment that's going to generate more revenue for the city. If we have it easier for people to come in from outside the city to visit, to spend money, to stay, to tell their friends, to tell their neighbors to visit Fairfield, they're going to come more often, they're going to enjoy it more, they're going to spend more money, the city is going to grow, the revenue is going to increase. So the tax base is going to increase, the tax revenues are going to increase. So it's not really, I think it's not taking money away from repairing streets, it's adding more money to the city coffers so that we can better repair the streets and better build the city. So I think the cost comparison of taking money from one place and putting it to another place, I don't see that as actually the way things would turn out if we were to vote in favor of a two-way street system. The other objection I hear sometimes is, well, this is the way we've done it for such a long time. But as the convention center speakers have told us, and we've learned, well, the reason that we went from two-way streets to one-way streets was back, I believe, in the 60s, when there were some speed boys from Parsons College who would drive their very fast cars around the square, and for safety reasons, it went from two-way to one-way. Well, that reason's gone. It's been gone for years. So if we're really going to be an inviting city, if we're really like we're saying we're going to be for the next 25 years and grow, we've got to make it, I think, take those steps we can, piecemeal if necessary, but take the steps to continue to make the city a dynamic one, a growing one, a welcoming one. And I think that moving in the direction of two-way is going to mean that it's going to mean more growth, it's going to mean more revenue, and it's going to mean more money to fix potholes and all sorts of other things. So when we're coming to that vote, I'm going to vote for two-way streets.
Thank you. We've got just about everybody. Katie or Michael, do you have any desire to?
Yeah, I'll speak. Jason, you can click the memo tab there. So let's be specific about what we're voting for. We're not voting for potholes, and we're not voting for some street repair of unknown quantity. We're voting for either one of those two. We're either voting for Highway 1 engineering, Crow Creek Bridge study, and some concrete patching with the two-way conversion, or the other one with the overlay at Waterworks Park and Road and parking. So again, to kind of echo what's been talked about, it's not necessarily street repair, and I get that. That's a valid argument. It's probably the most valid argument. We have money, and it's not going to street repair. It is, however, going to an investment in one of our strongest economic engines in our community that grows the fund that we're using to pay for this. That's a great cyclical investment. They generated this revenue, those businesses. By doing this, we can help them generate more. Martha and I are the only two council members who have owned downtown businesses in our careers. And I can tell you, when I owned this business right next door over here, one time a trailer came and took all the parking in front of our business. We had no business that day. People are really fickle about coming and shopping at your business if they can't get parking nearby. I know we're a little spoiled in Fairfield, but it really makes a big difference. The businesses on Main Street typically have done well. because vehicles can get there from Burlington. And that really is why Court Street has struggled. And you can see it in the turnover in the businesses on Court. The satellite imagery that we were using when we were looking at this, we've been looking at this on committee for almost 2 years now. We started looking at it in January 2018. So this is nothing new. It's been delved into pretty deeply. But you can see on Court Street the lack of cars being parked there. There's just less going on there because of that unnatural inability to turn left off of Burlington or turn right off to Burlington onto Court. So we talk about piecemeal. Adding Main could just make this process much slower. When you get the DOT involved, much more expensive. And the relief we're being asked for is from mostly businesses on Court and Broadway who would be directly affected by this. So again, it's not a street repair. It's a downtown investment to grow the businesses that grow our local option sales tax.
Okay, thank you. Katie, anything? No. Okay. So we'll then ask for a motion if council desires to move forward with the proposed two-way conversion.
I move that we move forward in terms of approving the two-way conversion.
Okay. Motion by Rasmussen.
Second.
Second by Gandy. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Anderson?
No.
Hallie?
Yes.
Flournoy?
No.
Thompson?
No.
Okay, so that's 3-3 council, the motion fails. And in our next action item, we have the allocation that was just brought up. We could bring that memo up again. So let's hold that there for a second, and I want to just mention something to the council, and you can shoot me down quickly if you'd like. But you know, when we were in the public safety meeting where it was discussed a week ago, I proposed a compromise to do one block, because if the dollar amount is the issue, then doing one block is basically doing half the project and spending half the money, presumably. So I had proposed Broadway because there had been a proposal on Broadway. The east-west corridor would open up and it would make things a little bit more fluid getting on and off the square. But I think you could make an equal or maybe even a stronger argument for just Court Street going to two-way at this time. And again, you're spending dollars that you have. You're spending half of the amount that's been proposed. You can still, at some future date, finish the study that would include Main Street and then do Main and Broadway at that time. Is there any interest in considering a compromise position from the nays?
I think it's unfortunate that we don't take a serious look at the compromise. I mean, well, when we heard, the comment from a restaurant owner who struggles on Court Street because of not having two-way traffic. And I think the street repair is, I live in Fairfield. I've lived in Fairfield a long time. I drive on lots of streets that are bumpy and that have potholes. But just because we turn this down, we're not going to get everything fixed. I think that's the realism that people have to stop and think about. And I think this would be a good beginning.
Katie, Doug, Tom, any feeling towards that? I mean, you guys were the nay votes, and I respect that the motion didn't pass, but is there any interest in a compromise position?
I guess from my standpoint, not really, because we can always bring it back. This is what the city staff recommended. Let's stay with it. All this stuff that we're talking about, it can come up again in the next, we can have budget hearings again in January. Mm-hmm. The staff recommended this. This is what they felt was the best thing to do. Why? I don't know even much about roads other than if they're bumpy. Why should I recommend something else?
Okay.
I just want to point out that I'm not saying that it's not a project that has merit, but very much like was discussed, I'd like to see it done in its entirety instead of piecemeal. And I'm sitting here trying to drive the square how you just proposed with North or with Court going both directions. And we have issues now. God help us, I think we'd have a lot more issues then. And I really think it's an attainable goal to look at a 3 to 5 year, to put this in our 3 to 5 year plan with the study. The committee, the Public Safety Committee, had discussed the turnaround time. If DOT doesn't like the idea, we're going to know really darn quick, right? If they don't like it, we're going to know quick. If they're at least, I'm looking at her. If they're
Yeah.
at least considering it, we'll know within a year, hopefully a year-ish.
Yeah, and if they don't, then you're back to what you have proposed now.
Yeah.
So,
So then we'll at least know whether it's an option. So, I think the project has merit, and I definitely hear, especially Tony and Roland up there on that edge of court, I definitely hear the cries, but I'd like to see us fix the entirety. And we just infused a large sum of money down there and borrowed to do it. I'd like to see us plan, I'd like to see us save, and I'd like to, all the things that the inner accountant in me would recommend to a client, I'm going to recommend to us as a council to plan and save.
I'll just point out that the downtown lights has a revenue stream tied to it, though. It wasn't just open borrowing. It was borrowed to spread out the revenue stream over the 3-4 years to complete the process. But I appreciate that, Katie. Thank you. So, all right, then we'll move then to the.
We got to vote on the other one. We got to allocate these
I know.
funds.
We're going to move to that right now. So we'll vote right now on option 1 or option 2. And again, if you've all stated that the traffic study for downtown conversion be funded, then really you'd be looking at the second one, which is again not to proceed with the two-way street restoration. And you'd have Highway 1 engineering, Crow Creek Bridge study, 3-inch overlay at Waterworks Road and parking lot, and concrete patching, and the traffic study.
And the traffic study is included in that for our downtown two-way.
Yes. Right.
Okay. I'll make a motion to accept that one.
Moved by Hallie to approve the second option. Second by Anderson.
Did you guys all go at the same time?
We just did.
All three of you got three of them. Man.
We had this all worked
I
out.
like that enthusiasm. All right, thank you. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign? Okay, thank you.
Man, couldn't jump on that.
Next, council will move to our committee reports, public safety and transportation.
All right, we met a week ago and talked about two-way. The committee, we did want to move forward on that study, so that matches what happened tonight. The other discussion we had was downtown parking. For many, many years, overnight parking in our downtown is prohibited between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. And we have more people living downtown on second-story apartments than ever. And if you count the days that it's really needed that they be gone, it's a handful where they're either doing street sweeping or snow removal. So the committee is making a recommendation to the full council that we amend the city code to allow overnight parking downtown, except for during times of snow emergencies or street cleaning. We still haven't worked out exactly how we will get the word out for those 2 times. But whatever we do, it's got to be made clear that if a downtown resident parks overnight during one of those times, they can and will be towed at their own expense. So it's very important, for those times when snow is coming. We talked about some ways that we could get the word out, but there's always got to be some responsibility of the people living there to pay attention. We were really aiming for 0 towed cars for Ragbri this year, and we still had 2.
Yes, ended up with 2. So.
And one, the person said, I knew it, I just forgot. And then the second one
We had several running out of businesses we were towing, but we ended up with 2, yes, sir.
But some people will claim, what is Ragbri? I didn't even know this was coming. And
One claimed they never heard of Ragbri before, but they were from out of state.
Okay. So we want to educate and partner and be good, be good partners with our downtown residents. But we got to work this out so that they understand those certain times when it's snowing.
Can I piggyback on what you're saying?
The plow is coming and the tow truck's coming. Yep.
I was just going to say, one of the great things that happened in the public safety meeting is it was actually a resident living downtown who encouraged and supported and said, do the towing. You tow me once, I'm not going to leave my car there again. So it was actually somebody living downtown who supported this idea of us really strictly enforcing a tow ban during snow emergencies or publicized street sweeping. So. Doug?
Oh, I just, mentioning Ragbri, I just had a question about any estimate on how much we did on in-kind services for the Ragbri event? The police and everything?
We paid the police big money.
So that was all even, so it was just the $20,000 is the true cost that the city put into that?
Yeah, they went way over budget.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. This year was the first year we tried to offset the budget, the budget, previous years, or the previous one time that Ragbri's been here. The department paid all its local officers the overtime out of our own budget and just counted it as a planned emergency. We only paid out of the budget last time for officers that came from out of town, and deputies came out from outside the city to assist us. This year, kind of at the recommendation of everybody involved, including Ragbri, we included the local officers, so it was quite a bit more expense for overtime. But once again, it offset the budget.
How about the other city employees that were utilized? Any costs there?
Paid for EMS. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, our EMS got reimbursed. Our sewer plant or solid waste was covered and taken care of through Ragbri. So all in all, I think the majority of our costs, except for the money we put in from Lost, was reimbursed.
All right, that's all I need to know. Thanks.
Michael, that'll come back to us in form of an ordinance amendment.
So I'd like to make the motion just to get the council to approve changing the ordinance, just so we know we're gonna move on it. So
I move that the council direct the Public Safety and Transportation Committee to revise that ordinance.
No, we're going to full council now. We come out of committee with the recommendation, so I'm recommending full council approve changing the ordinance to allow downtown overnight parking, except for in the event of snow emergencies.
Yeah, so my motion was just to go do it, bring it back.
All right, so who made the motion?
I made the real motion.
Okay. Motion by Ali, second by Flournoy. Any discussion? Now please call the roll.
Hallie.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yeah.
Anderson.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We'll try and have an amended ordinance. I'll work with John to have an amended ordinance written for the 16th meeting to have our first reading.
Okay, great.
We don't have to.
Okay, is that everything from the Public Safety and Transportation Committee?
Yes.
Okay, Personnel Committee, Katie, anything beyond?
We covered what we discussed.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to our administrator and department reports. Melanie, do you have a project report?
A lot of the projects we actually discussed a little bit during our work session, but for the public, I wanted to point out that Libertyville Road Sewer is complete. We'll be sending out invoices to those property owners that had the city's contractor do their connection, and that connection was not a part of their easement negotiations. So they'll be getting invoices on those in the next month, as well as a letter to remind them to set up their account. After the first of the year, we'll have those residents on Libertyville Road as city customers on the sanitary sewer side. As we get into the first of the year, we'll work on annexation of that area and then have those customers as water customers as well. So the work, I'll say the construction is done, the work remains on Libertyville Road. Then also, Stone Avenue is water main project that's going on. It's an area that's been plagued by leaks, and Stone Street from 12th to 8th is completed, and those property owners are all on the new line, enjoying new water pressure, and hopefully get that street cleaned up here before we start getting into some not as nice weather. Also, I met with the Carnegie Foundation Board and then the city's Carnegie Board on Friday. With the Carnegie Elevator project, we have requirements that are state mandated, mechanical and some safety requirements. But the city and the Carnegie Foundation decided to do an upgrade to the car itself because of the age, to the car and the mechanical systems. And so the meeting on Friday was to make the aesthetic decisions of the elevator. And I think we'll be posting some stuff on Facebook later this week about it. But trying to give the car a more historic feel while still having a modern elevator with proper signage and lighting and all of that stuff. And we're not gonna get one of those mechanical gates.
You're not gonna have a guy standing there?
Yep, no, can't have all those things that meet safety requirements, so. And then lastly, with the vote that you just had on the allocation of the lost funds, I'll be adding the Waterworks Road to our Seal Coat overlay project, and then hopefully set a public hearing on that at your next meeting and take bids in the first part of the new year.
Thanks, Melanie. How far does that go, Melanie? Does that go down to the Royal Oak subdivision, that hill?
No.
No.
I think it's gonna go just a little past where the parking lot ends. So it's not even gonna make it all the way to the plant.
Got it.
Of course, then we'll see how the bids come in. If there is room, we can continue. That would be a place that we can continue farther without additional mobilization or anything from the contractor.
About the two-way study, do you need committee to meet to work that out? Are you gonna work something up as a proposal?
Yeah, I'll work on a proposal, and well, first I'll have a conversation with DOT and see if we even bother going towards the study, and then I'll get a engineering company under contract on that and bring that back. I'll probably just bring it straight to the council rather than taking it to the committee.
Works for us.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. Okay, council, appreciate everyone's time tonight, and to all our department heads are still there.
Just with the holidays coming up, the city's practices in the last couple of years has been the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, we've closed the city office and departments at noon on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. That's also been past practice the day before Christmas and then the day before New Year's also. So just a heads up that the city offices and departments will be closing at noon the day before those 3 days.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. All right, council, we'll adjourn to December 16th. Entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Rasmussen, second by Flournoy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.